But before we can get into the goodness that was the variety of TV shows we've had in the last week, we have to do our character profile. And I'm going to be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed with myself for not thinking of this sooner, especially bearing in mind how much I've struggled for character profiles the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's Pride Month.
Correct.
And I had no idea what people do. I should have been shining a light on some of the brilliant LGBT
Characters
plus,
that Marvel and that have.
characters. So I went for the one that springs to mind first to me. Mr. Iceman, Robert Bobby Drake of the X-Men.
Oh, okay.
So I think a lot of people don't realize he's gay for two reasons. The early 2000s X-Men films obviously had him dating Rogue for all the films.
Oh, yeah.
And to be fair, he has dated women in the comics, but he defines himself as gay now. So, but also, if I'm correct, his character was made canonically gay quite a long time ago. So it's just kind of not something that's discussed anymore.
I get you.
Whereas, like, Superman's son John recently in his comics came out as bisexual. So, because that was quite recent, it got a bit of news. No one's going back through old back catalogues to find people who came out as gay 20 years ago to moan about them. Yeah. So, Iceman's very interesting. He is also an Omega level mutant.
Okay.
So, the top level. I did not realize how in depth his powers are. But at the same time, a lot of them seem very similar.
Right.
And just like, almost like he has two versions of each power. One version for inside his body and one version for outside his body.
Okay, I get you.
So I'll give the names and then I'll give description. So we've got thermokinesis, thermal vision, cryokinesis, organic ice form, hydrokinesis, ice clone generation, cryokinetic perception, cellular replacement.
I understood like two of those.
As with everything when it comes to the X-Men, it gets confusing as fuck for no reason. So basically, the thermokinesis, as far as I can understand, allows him to, what's the word I'm looking for? Purposefully control his temperature of his body.
Okay.
So that allows him to drop it down to absolute zero in, like, I think I read it was like 2/5 of a second or something. So like rapid. When his body does get that low is when his thermal vision comes into play. So when his body temperature is lowered enough, he basically can see people via their heat signature.
Right. Okay.
Which is kind of interesting that ability is kind of reliant on something else being active. The cryokinesis is the one that most people will be familiar with. That's what allows him to create his kind of weapons, and like when he's in his ice form, he's kind of got that ice armor around him. That's part of that, along with the organic ice form. So, like I said, a lot of his powers work hand in hand with each other.
Yep.
But yeah, that's what allows him to create like his little darts that he fires at people and stuff like that.
Okay. That's cool.
Then you've got his organic ice form, which is essentially where he can replace his living tissue with ice that does the same thing.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, but apparently, so this is really interesting. Omega level mutants are, this has always been my understanding, but I've got a feeling they've retconned it and changed it slightly recently. But until someone in the comics shouts at me for saying it's been changed, I'm going to assume that I'm still right with this. Omega level mutants, there's only one of each kind, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So with ice-based powers, there's only one Omega level mutant. With heat-based powers, with telepathy, all that. That was the way it always used to be. I do think it might have changed, but we're going to stick with that. But apparently, a big reason that holds him back so he doesn't seem like he's Omega level to a lot of people is his kind of anxiety around his powers stops him like activating his final form, if that makes sense.
Right.
So a lot of very intelligent people in the Marvel universe seem to think that his organic ice form he could actually use on other people as well.
Oh, interesting.
And because of his organic ice form, he might, while in that form, be immortal.
Okay.
Because he can't really take damage. But that again, that's because of the other powers on top of it.
Yeah.
So this comes down to like the hydrokinesis being like any water he can interact with, and using the hydrokinesis and the cellular replacement, he can turn the water
It's ice.
into the ice, and then when he then goes out of his ice form, that ice will turn back into his normal body.
Yeah. So as long as he's got water.
But here's the thing. It's even stated the moisture in the air in the desert is enough to sustain him.
Okay.
It just takes a lot of mental fortitude for him to be able to do that.
Yeah, and probably a lot longer.
Yeah, so his biggest issue is it's mentally taxing for him to do this stuff. So in areas where the air moisture and stuff like that isn't as plentiful, it's more mentally demanding of him.
Yeah, I get that.
He also can create ice clones. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yep.
Out of ice, he can create like body doubles that he can use. Cryokinetic perception is really interesting to me, and I'm not even sure I fully understand it. Based on what I can understand, it seems like when he's in an ice form, he can use any kind of water or ice or anything that he has control over in the area as another set of eyes.
Well, if it's kinetic perception, it'll be he can feel like tremors or movement.
Yeah. So I think one of the examples given was at one point New York City was like in the middle of a blizzard.
Okay.
And by standing in the middle of New York City, he could feel and know where everyone in the city was. Because the ice was everywhere.
Yeah,
he could use that to work out where everyone was. Which is, I mean, kind of OP if like...
yeah, in the right climates.
Yeah.
Basically could jump in the ocean and just feel everything.
But you've also got to remember, because he can team up with Storm, he can use her to get it to rain all over an area and kind of use them in tandem, which is interesting. Combo. As I said before, although he has had a fair few female love interests, at one point Jean Grey, Phoenix.
Yep.
So this is where X-Men lore always gets difficult. So him and Jean Grey dated.
Right.
She then died.
Okay.
A then version of her from the past time traveled to the future for something else, not for this purpose. This just happened while she was time traveling, and she questioned him about his sexuality, to which he confessed being gay.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's one way to do it.
I think I've got that right. So that's how he came out. So yes, although he has been with women, he considers himself gay. More power to him.
Yep.
So, as I was also saying before, the biggest roadblock for his powers is sometimes he suffers from mental blocks.
Right.
Which limit him, don't allow him to truly meet his own mega mutant level. So, although he is crazy powerful and can roll with the absolute top dogs, his kind of internal anxieties and worries about losing control of his powers and the damage it could do sometimes make him less effective.
Okay.
And what I did not know is how old a character he is.
Oh, has he got like anti-aging because of his...
No. I mean, like real world old. He first appeared in X-Men #1 back in July 1963.
An OG.
He was the second member of the X-Men behind Scott Summers.
Oh, he's an OG.
Yes. Proper OG.
Man's rolling from the deep.
As in, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee themselves came up with him.
Yeah, like in the first draft of X-Men.
Yeah, exactly. Proper OG, which I didn't know. I knew he was an old character. I didn't realise he was like day one old.
Probably explains, in a way, why he has some very creative powers. Because, like, they have nothing else where they have to be worried about if they're copying anything. It's just like, oh, let's do something completely, like, ice-themed, and they have a load of fun with it, and there's no worry of crossover.
Exactly, and his appearance has changed kind of over the years as he's got more control over his powers. Originally, he kind of used to look like a bit like a snowman, so kind of like a white covering over his body. But as he got more control over his power, he was able to turn that into like the bluish kind of rock hard ice that you would think of when you see him.
Yeah,
which is obviously a lot more durable and a lot more powerful,
and cooler looking.
And yeah, obviously a fuck ton cooler looking. But yeah, So there we go.
That's cool.
That is character profile on Iceman. I will say I was a little bit sad. I knew I wanted to do him, so I went to type in Iceman. And to be fair, it's probably just because Top Gun Maverick's like
Just been out.
top of all the cinemas right now. But it was instantly trying to point me towards Val Kilmer's character in Top Gun. I'm like, no, I want the Marvel one.
I'm the nerd looking for Iceman.
Yeah, literally
not the female.
Yeah, like literally even 2 months ago trying to search this and it wouldn't have sent me there. But anyways, on to our 12 million shows this week.